Thank you. Just to go back to the annual general statement, government statement, which I think is imperative that it is correct. And I'm glad that a member has mentioned about having actual facts that we can discuss. And one of the things is you probably remember in Deloitte did an issue about planning in 2013, and this was seen as high risk. I believe that the withdrawal of the core strategy is high risk to this council
we're not on this,
and should be. I'm sorry, it's in the annual governance statement under the under F, high risk, 21 recommendations, and it's under F. If you look in your pie chart in the government statement, have you all got your government statements?
Which page we're talking?
This is on Audit Committee.
Yeah, it's the annual government statement introduction 2017-18.
On page.
It's not. It's on the F1. This is the document behind. This is the document
hang on. We all
behind.
don't have that.
I can make comments on it.
We're talking about the minutes here.
It's item agenda 5.1.
No, please. Please, I'm in charge. Can you please wait until you're asked to speak? I'm seeking clarification, right, Liam?
I'm sorry.
No, I want the legal officer to speak. Can you please?
Chairman, I just.
I think it's rude that you won't allow me to chair the meeting and let the legal officer speak. No, Liam.
Sorry, Chairman. I was just asking you to call the meeting to order to enable Councillor Dale to expand on her point so that members might get some idea of exactly what the point she's making. I appreciate Councillor Grimshaw is perhaps trying to assist with that, but I think the point might be best made by the person that's currently standing, that's Councillor Dale, and then the Chairman can make a ruling as to whether or not that question can be asked and indeed answered. Thank you.
Councillor Dale.
I would refer to the annual, read it out. I would refer to the annual government statement, agenda 5.1, in particular, one of the 6 core principles of compliance, managing risks. Over the past years, we have always entered into our annual government statements high risks.
Sorry, forgive me, but it's not absolutely clear from where you're reading from. I think you might be reading from the agenda that was presented to that meeting, or at least a supporting paper from that agenda. The members, as you'll appreciate, have only been provided at this meeting with the minutes from that particular meeting, so it's difficult for them to appreciate exactly what the point that you're trying to make. So I would ask you to try and confine it to the relevance of asking questions on the minutes and try not to expand into other areas which members do not have information on.
Right. My point is that I feel strongly that the withdrawal of the core strategy
we're not talking about that.
Is a high risk, and Councillor Hill has just previously said that she would like to hear of anything that we think should be in the annual government statement. That has been recorded earlier today.
Right, we note your comments, thank you.
Well, can I just say, I think the best thing to do it is, once again, I have got all the reports from the DCLG, all the FOIs, I've got Daljit, all the reports on the information and the advice that Councillor Jackson was given before he asked the withdrawal of this core strategy, and I am going to take that to I'll send it to government, but I will send it to the external auditors because it is a big risk, and I feel that this council has been misled.
Right, we are being advised
as
that
high risk.
Thank you. We note what you have said, and it will be looked into. Councillor Hill, do you want to comment on what you said?
Yeah, just to say a couple of things. As I said, I'm more than welcome for any members' comments on that report. But it's obviously a long, detailed report, and we're not going to spend 2-3 hours now debating that. But any comments are welcome. I just have to say it's disappointing that the members are criticising the fact that this was made transparently. It is in the interests of Northumberland taxpayers to know that their money has been spent dining 3 Labour MPs in a top restaurant in Kensington.
Yeah.
That is in
Councillor Hill,
that is in the
Councillor
public
Hill.
that is in the public interest.
Right.
And if that's it, it's in the public
Councillor
interest.
Hill, please. Right. Councillor Oliver. You don't want to speak anymore. Right. Right, devolution. I can't see any more. Councillor.
I'm just happy to propose those minutes. Okay.
Propose the minutes and the devolution working group. That's it. Move on. Delegated decisions. This is on pages 151 to 152. Councillor Jones, do you want to comment or? Are we happy with that report? Item 15. Report of the Director of Finance, and there is a recommendation in here, and I'll hand over the proposer Nick Oliver and Peter Jackson. Councillor Homer is going to leave the chamber. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just quickly cover the recommendations first, and I'll give a little bit of the background. The Council is being asked to provide additional funding to Active Northumberland up to a maximum of 2.635 million for the financial year 2017-18. So that's the year that ended at the end of March, just passed. And we're also being asked to note the financial position of Active Northumberland. So basically, we have had to put in, or we are being asked to put in, another £2.6 million into Active Northumberland. If we didn't do that, and if we choose not to do that today, it's my view that Active Northumberland can't be considered as a going concern. I'm just going to sort of set out some of the issues that have led to this position. These are sort of historical issues, and we've basically got the starting point is sort of inadequate and unrealistic budgets. So you set out the plan for the year, which was done the year before, and it's done inadequately. No hope of ever actually achieving it. There was no clear focus for Active Northumberland. For example, libraries and tourism were council into Active Northumberland, back into the council again. Services were bouncing around, people were bouncing around. It was all done on a whim. There were no clear lines of responsibility in terms of there was a sort of cloudiness between the council and the board of Active Northumberland. The Active Northumberland board were kept in the dark. Information that they should have had to be an effective board of that organisation was not provided to them. There was no proper management information given them to on a regular basis for them to make decisions and to identify issues. An example of that, the decision was taken here to outsource the telephone calls into leisure centres to book a badminton court or a swimming lesson or whatever to an external call centre agency. That decision cost Active Northumberland and this council £490,000 over a year. That wasn't properly discussed at the Active Northumberland board. There was political interference by officers and by the previous administration. The pricing policy, I accept the pricing policy needed to be brought in line. We had different prices in different leisure centres right across the county. But it was a fiasco, the way it was handled. It just couldn't be been done any worse. And then when they realised the problems it was causing, people deserting membership in droves, they threw good money after bad. And a decision was taken, again without proper consideration, to spend £186,000 on a marketing campaign with an external company. There was clearly a culture of fear in the organisation. Hire and fire decisions were made on a whim. Proper recruitment processes weren't followed. There was no business plan, no detailed financial forecasts for the whole organisation. New facilities were opened on a whim with no clear business case for the capital investment, and in some cases pretty large capital investment. and significant issues affecting the organisation weren't dealt with in a timely fashion. For example, the job evaluation. So there were some serious issues, and that's led to a whole year of trying to sort things out. But I am confident that we will be able to provide leisure services in a cost-effective and better way. We've taken a number of actions since last May. We've strengthened the board. We've recruited a new chief executive who's coming from a very well-respected and award-winning service in another part of the country. We're developing a clear operating agreement between the council and Active Northumberland. We're focusing on leisure only. We've got clear business plan in place and very detailed financial forecasts. And there's regular, accurate information which is being provided down to the level of each operating unit of Active Northumberland, so that the board, when it meets every month, can make proper decisions. So, the board are now clear. They've got very clear targets, and they're very determined to improve the financial performance of Active Northumberland. So I think it's been, it's a shame it's come to this. It's costing this council 2.6 million this year to put things right. But we are, as an administration, determined to make sure that leisure services are properly provided. They're an important service to residents of Northumberland, and we'll do it in a proper way. So I would recommend that we agree these recommendations.
Is this seconded?
Yes, I'll second that, Chair. I would like to speak on.
No, I think.
I'll give way.
Yeah.
But I'll speak.
I'll second it. And we wholeheartedly support the continuation of Active Northumberland and would like to see any of its problems be resolved. But some of the accusations that's been made by Councillor Oliver, we don't think are quite correct. Right? I'm not going as far as to say what other people have said in the chamber today, but some of them are different to the information we were given as councillors. A review was undertaken in 2015. A massive risk assessment programme was put together along with a business plan. Now, from there, we found that there were problems within Active Northumberland, and in late 2017, we reduced the burden on Active Northumberland by moving £891,000 worth of work, which is within your report, Councillor Oliver, by the way, back to the council. And then within the budget, we removed a further £2,574,000 worth of burden on Active in order to try to resolve its problems. No further reports were given to the Cabinet of this council that I can recall, and I cannot find any either, to say there was a problem after that date and before the date you took over, which was a very short time period, but Active seemed to accept that. I'm very, very disappointed with the comments received from the Active Northumberland board to say, well, we're going into total denial about any of these things. Decisions were made by the Active board and not the council. It was a very, very simple client-contractor split. So if the client side, who worked here for the council, decided that they would have, say, a running festival, for instance, I don't know whether they ever had one or not, say a running festival, they would issue an instruction to the management of the contracting side of Active Northumberland, which is a contractor. The breakdown in communications, to me, as a long-serving local government contractor, when I actually did have a proper job, appears to be between the management of Active and its board, and not to the council and the board, because they would be the written instruction of a client. So I'm very, very disappointed that the upward flow just didn't happen within the whole Active movement. Some of the other comments that you've made, I cannot comment on because they didn't come to the Cabinet, but we did not let Active down. The one that does make me laugh a little bit here, actually, is the fact that it's going to be £1 million for job evaluation. The actual HR department of the council recommended the £103,000 that went into the budget of the council for that year to cover the costs of Active's Active's job evaluation. That estimate by HR must have been radically wrong. It's 90% out according to your figures that you've given us in your report, Councillor. I'm not disputing your figures, by the way. So we are pleased that you're carrying on with the actual work to try to resolve this problem. We are just as unaware, if that's the word it was, the board of users of Active, of some of the decisions that were taken that you described earlier, and we hope that it continues on forever. Thanks very much, Chair.
Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Davey. We've got it several times today that you seem to be living in a parallel universe to the rest of us. Honestly, what we've got here, and I didn't refer to it before, we've got a rescue package for a major and important service provided right across our county. And if we didn't come up with this rescue package of £2.6 million just for this 1 year, that organisation would not be able to continue to provide any services whatsoever. In fact, they wouldn't be able to probably pay the wages next week. It's that serious. And that's the mess that you and your administration over the last 4 years has left for us to deal with. The report is just a summary report, but it's a documentation of persistent and systemic mismanagement over a number of years. What we can't find are the things that you've just been talking about. We can't find a proper service level agreement between this council and the charitable organisation Active Northumberland. But we can't find that service level agreement has been either actioned or monitored properly from this council. The leisure organisations were put together some years ago, and staff in different parts of the county doing the same job have been paid vastly different sums per hour in sort of, say, in Blythe as compared to Berwick or Alnwick or Hexham. And that is a totally unfair situation, and that's why we've had to go through this job evaluation process. Normally what happens when services merge is that job evaluation process actually takes place straight away. We don't wait 3 or 4 or 5 years to do it. And if we hadn't been in the administration, it wouldn't have been done yet because of the cost of it. You talk about the management of Active. Well, we've distributed a letter here today from the Active board, and from the investigations that we believe to be true, these comments actually take a lot of weight. So, for example, they say the decision to transfer services to and from Active Northumberland was made at the sole discretion of the council and not at the request of Active Northumberland. So, library services, some of them not, got dumped onto Active Northumberland with no budget, not at the request or agreement even of Active Northumberland. Active Northumberland was not consulted on the application of savings, nor was the board given the opportunity to identify how these savings may be achieved. That means, in simple terms, the financial control of Active had actually been superseded by the council, and the board felt that they weren't given their proper opportunity to take responsibility. The board was not consulted or made aware of the decisions resulting in the budget shortfall. It was therefore unable to challenge the decision or take action to mitigate the effect. Again, that's the board saying, we didn't even have the proper information on which to act and run this service. So, who had that information? Well, it was the council who was inadvertently running this organisation. And then finally, the one I found most shocking was the effective £500,000 a year that we were paying through the public purse. This is public money, for an external organisation to run a call centre for our leisure centres. Yet all over the county, we've got staff on desks and receptions in all of our leisure centres who have been doing that job perfectly well beforehand. And there weren't any savings made in active. We've still got all of those staff, and they're actually doing that job of taking bookings again, which they kind of get paid for. But we've effectively wasted £500,000 over the last year on getting an external call centre to do a job that we were doing already. Now, where did that contract was issued under your administration? You can't deny it. It's been going for more than a year. And again, the external companies were commissioned by the council, but the contracts were put in the name of Active Northumberland. The board was not consulted regarding the commissioning of these services. It couldn't be simpler. It's in black and white, and it's true. And I think it's not only a disaster for the county that we've had to kind of recover this situation, which really has been a critical situation, but it's been a kind of a real challenge for the county council to get to grips with this, and it's taken a whole year to do it, and we feel that we've got a way forward now. But I said it before, it's part of the systemic mismanagement of this council over the last 4 years, and I think the previous leader of the council and the previous deputy leader should give us all their sincere apologies for the absolute mess they've left us in. Thank you.
Right, Grant, you've spoken. I'll come back to you. There was other hands about to go up. It wasn't named. But there were I'll bring you in at the end. Other hands were going up. Anybody want Councillor Dale? Councillor Oliver?
I haven't spoken. Right. So thank you very much. Can I just go back, because I think we'll all remember we did an audit report on Active Northumberland, and what happened was that you probably recall that some of the leisure centres, there was 2 different companies running the leisure centres, and the council deemed it was right to bring them all together. When they brought them together, the actual issues came to light that one company was very badly managed. And so that has progressed. However, that is all done and dusted in the past, and they're all together amalgamated. However, I do have an issue. I really want to go back into why the leisure centres were set up, as I did with the trust. And one of the big ones was about the business rates. So we don't pay business rates as a charitable enterprise. Now, you have taken out, and I just would like some figures, because it's important. It's important for all of us. I would like to know, for instance, Woodhorn has been transferred back to the council. What are the it says transferred to NCC, and all of those were transferred back. If you look, these have been transferred back to you, I gather, back into the council by you, the county council. Your administration has brought these back in. I think that's what I read, and I did actually take advice and ask, and they said no. And these I read were the actual savings that had been put forward. Anyway, I think you need to have a look, because certainly Woodhorn is transferred to NCC the 1st to 4th 17.
Yeah, I mean...
well, I just think maybe, because actually we've also got Hadrian's Wall's been transferred back to NCC. I worried about that a bit.
1st of the 4th, 17, so that was before the election last year. Mm-hmm. And the other thing you'll note is that that actually reduces the burden rather than increases the burden on Active Northumberland.
Well, it reduces the burden on Active Northumberland. It actually adds the burden onto the county council. So you can't have it both ways, right? Because you don't pay business rate. Once anything comes back into the ownership and being run by the council, you have to pay business rates. I've done a lot of work on it before, and I'm sorry, I think you want to ask the accounting. I'm not going to. What I would like to do is, can you go back?
Confusing
I'm sorry.
VAT with business rates.
It's not business rate, it's business rates on charities. Could I ask you to go back and have a look at it?
Right.
Because it is a lot of money. Our swimming pools don't pay business rates, our leisure centres don't, and it's a massive saving. It's not VAT, it's business rates. Right?
Right, who else to speak before I go back to Grant? And then I'll go to the summer. Yeah. Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Chair.
Microphone.
And I was named. Chair,
We'll have a look back and find
there seems to be a complete lack of understanding by the Leader of Council on this issue. The dates that the burden removals were placed in the budget of Council meant that this administration didn't run that budget. The Leader of Council didn't put forward an emergency budget to change the budget within a whole year of its cycle, and is now £65 million in debt. So, when it comes to the finances of the Council, as stated by the Leader of the Council, he's completely incorrect in this case. The items were in the budget, but when you're moving items, staff as large as this back into the Council from other organisations, it wouldn't have happened before the first week in May. There's no way that would have happened. This has gone under your watch. And Councillor Dale is quite correct. The burden removal was a saving to you in active and a burden on the Council. And that's quite correct. So I'd like to wind up by saying that we wholeheartedly support the saving of active. We're not against the saving of active, but we are very disappointed that no one in active knew that there was a change to the business rate scheme. I can't understand that one little bit, and the statements within here show that there's been a management problem within the active management board, because I'm sure every charity, every company and everybody else who can claim discretionary rate relief would have actually made an application and found out about it. They mustn't have even made an application. But thank you for that, and don't dive up, Councillor Oliver. We're moving to the vote now. Cheers, thank you.
Councillor Oliver.
On page 155, point 5 says, in previous years, active Northumberland was granted 20% discretionary rate relief. The Council, in its 2017-18 budget document, changed the revenue and rates relief policy, and as a result, the decision was taken by Northumberland County Council to end the discretionary rate relief. I think you'll find that the 2017-18 budget was your budget, Councillor Davey.
I'd rather we got to the vote, because
we removed our application. It's within the actual budget papers of 2017. You have to apply for discretionary rate relief. It didn't get as much money.
Right. There is a recommendation. We could go on all afternoon on this one, but we do have a recommendation. 1. Note the 2017-18 financial position of active Northumberland, and 2. Agree the Council will provide additional funding to active Northumberland up to a maximum of £2,635 million.
2,635,000.
Yeah. 2,635,000 Slip of the tongue. Right, okay, let's move on. Are we agreed that? Thank you. Yeah, I should come back. Item 16, report of the Chief Executive. Community governance review.
Yes. Okay.
Item 17, to receive and consider the following annual reports, Appendix 2, page 205 at the rear of the agenda. Overview and scrutiny. Who's first on the? Councillor Bourne.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief. Just like to move the annual report of the Corporate Services Economic Growth and Overview and Scrutiny Committee. We've had a very busy year. We've had to schedule lots of extra meetings. I'd like to thank my Vice Chair, Councillor Grimshaw, and all members of the committee and the officers for all their hard work. Some of the highlights, including of the year, are the Ashington Blythe Tyne Line updates, or Northumberland Line updates, depends what you want to call it, the debt recovery plans, and looking into the workforce issues regarding members of staff. I'd like to move that report. Thank you.
Can we agree that one? Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Chair. Just move my report also. It's been a good year, really. It was a bit of a slow start, but we're now starting to get into it a bit. I'm looking forward to the coming year being more interesting, more dynamic, and hopefully give the Cabinet something to think about.
Can we agree that one for that? And Jeff Watson, Health and Wellbeing Overview and Scrutiny.
No, it's pensions fund.
Sorry, pension fund.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Health and Wellbeing.
Oh, just move that one. I want to talk about the pensions fund.
You're not yet. Agree. Accounts, who's next? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, I'd like to move my report. We've had a very busy year. We've met 36 times over the year, more than any other OSC, having monthly meetings rather than bi-monthly meetings, which was the plan. Everyone can see there what we've been up to. I mean, looking forward to the year ahead, we had a very good report at the second last meeting in February about elective home education. There's a nationwide rise in parents choosing to home educate their children, which is something that all members have an interest in. The government has introduced the Home Education Duties of Local Authorities Bill, so the County Council now has powers to look into the quality of work on that from the homeschool children, and we're going to follow that very closely and make sure that it's done properly. So okay. I'd like to move my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we agree that one? Agree. Item 2, Standards Committee, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. Just like to move forward the annual report of the Standards Committee, page 223 and page 224.
Can we agree that? Agree. Pension Fund Panel. Now, Councillor.
Thank you. I wanted to highlight a few things because we don't talk about the pensions panel very often. We have investments of over £1 billion. The panel administers the scheme for 27,000 members and for 40 employers. The Border to Coast Pensions Partnership pooling arrangement was something that we were obliged to do by the government, and the fund, when it's all complete, will be £43 billion. In the year, NCC has continued to work with 11 other pension funds to build BCCP. All strategic decisions, including asset allocation, will remain with NCC's panel. Shared pension administration with Tyne and Wear Pension Fund. The transition to a shared service for LGPS administration took place on the 29th of January 2018. NCC remaining 6 pension administration team members to be transferred to become part of Tyne and Wear's pension fund on 6th in January 2018. LGPS members and pension rights were totally unaffected by the change. The main driver for the change was to ensure robust future service for members capable of meeting increased future government requirements. There were no issues arising as a result of the transition, and members' access to information will have improved. And finally, the good news. Funding level. The funding level was 84% at the most recent actual valuation. That was the 31st of March 2016. It has improved to 98% at most recent estimate, as at 31st of December 2017, mainly because of good market returns in the period, and I'd like to think a little bit of some of the things that we did in the panel. If improved funding is sustained to the 31st of March 2019, next year, the currently high employer contribution payable by NCC should reduce from 1st of April 2020. So all in all, a good year for the pension fund. And I just finally like to say personal thanks to Derek Kennedy for helping me over this last year. He's done several meetings when I haven't been able to do them. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Can we agree with that? Armed Forces and Veterans Champion, Councillor Ledger.
Thanks, Chair. In moving this report for the second time, we're in a completely different place to where we were 12 months ago. We've been hugely successful both in Northumberland and right across the whole of the North East region. I can report that every single local authority in the North East is at a minimum of silver, which is brilliant. Last year we just failed to achieve the Gold Award. I was written to by the Lieutenant General in charge of Manning, thanking us for the bid that went in, and that we'd been only just failed to make the grade. And it was not about a bad application, it was about proving the evidence. And the only evidence in terms of casework was something that Jackie and myself had produced over the period of the bidding process. Now, successful in achieving 2 outreach workers. We were successful in getting a grant of over £200,000 to have 2 outreach workers who are working within the housing service down in Blythe, and already they've done an absolutely fabulous job for us. And the Royal Navy's comments in this year's award were way in front of the game, and we are above excellent. And reading that was when you look, and I think that we've got all the papers on the internet, and for me that was absolutely brilliant. And I want to thank Gordon.
He's not here.
He's not here. Gordon's been absolutely brilliant as the Veterans Champion, and the whole team. Nicola, Jackie, my right arm. You know, we've and young Aaron's now learning some of the tricks of the trade, and it really is. It is about the team that's going out. Lots of members of staff have already benefited by some of the policy changes, and I want to thank Kelly, who's sitting at the back, for the policy changes that we've actually got through this year with getting some of our staff who are in particular not reservists or serving soldiers. They're adult instructors who normally take holidays from work to go away and attend to take the young kids off to summer camps and places like that. And I applaud them. And I had a lovely message from Andrew, who only last Friday won the one of the major media awards. I think it was the Green Howard Award, and he was there to actually receive it. So, you know, it does right down to the bottom end. So I thank you all for the help and support, because it is about every single member. And if anybody does know of any person with any problem, don't hesitate to get in touch with me, Jackie or Gordon, or any of the team. Really appreciating it. I'll move the report, Chair.
Can we accept that report? Agreed. Thank you. Well, that concludes today. Thank you for your attendance.